Welcome back to part 7 of the SoULL relationship program. I'm Jean Denny from the School of Unusual Life Learning, where we learn about how life moves and how people and their relationships change. I do believe that this is the last installment of our blog series on relationships, and congratulations if you stayed with it to the end and have gotten a few ideas to take your relationships further. I want to open today touching back into 2 lines of the Machado small poem I read in the audio blog series last time in number 6. And those 2 lines were, "All things die, and all things live forever." Last time, we talked more about that first line, that the outward form of everything ends, and we have to grok that. And all of our relationships, 100% of them will go through a death process. But we can't leave out the other companion truth, that relationships also live forever. How do we hold that? Well, I want you to imagine something I bet you can think about. A childhood friend you haven't seen for, like, say, 30 or 40 or 50 years, and you run into them by chance someplace. Your lives probably have gone in completely different directions. They may look incredibly different, but once you have identified each other, would you know each other? Of course you would, if you had much to do with each other in the first place. Time, place, and roles have changed, but your relationship is still there. It's a way of connecting. You're just in the afterlife with them. And this could be anything: a job, a role in a community, a marriage, a death, a move across country, any change of status. Things end. And when they end, there are things about them that continue if they've been valuable to us. So that is our focus today, and I'm going to say 3 things. That really important things happen after endings, and it's really important to get curious about those things and care for that part. Second, that how we did our ending in the first place has an impact on how that after part unfolds, and with what pain and what meaning. And that third, and maybe most importantly, even if we have a bad ending for some reason, there are things we can still do to heal the relationship. You know, in our culture, we don't tend to think of endings as that important or what happens after endings. We think they're definitive, or that they should be. Sometimes we push them away before the ending actually happens. We think we should just get on with things and make a clean cut, pick ourselves up and get over it. But grievers, and anyone who's been through a breakup or a divorce or a ruptured friendship, knows that there's just a little more to the story. And what happens after anything is something. I see it as kind of a process of winding something backward, what happens afterwards. Reviewing, healing, taking stock, reclaiming self, putting things to rights, which kind of means a sorting process of some kind, and finding truth, finding what it is that endures, and letting go of what doesn't. It seems to matter to our vitality, our life purpose, and sense of meaning how we do these things, and if we do them. Let's consider death for a moment. When someone dies, if we're able to grieve well after the ending, we somehow do this magic trick of transforming the person we knew as a physical body outside of ourselves into a being that kind of lives inside of us spiritually. This is the large energetic process we call grief. And if we do it well, sort all those things out and manage to make that transformation, we still have conversations. We still have a relationship. It still feeds us. To say that somebody or something only exists when they live outside of us and have this or that role in our lives is to deny something very important about that connection. And internalizing this person as love is a real and necessary process of love. But this love that does not end must be claimed and owned, and it must be allowed to feed us. I hope that makes sense. Cultures, I notice, that preserve wisdom throughout the world work with this continuity of life much better than we do. They're really our teachers. And they know that grieving is important, and so is honoring those that have died, also known as ancestors. There may be intense sadness in their processes too, but it doesn't necessarily hang around as trauma or dissociation or incompletions. We, by contrast, tend to try to cut things off, muscle through, and get on with things. We try to push the necessary afterlife work of relationship aside. And we start something new that replaces our loss, often. But this approach tends to just transfer the old, unprocessed stuff onto a new person. Attempting to avoid the completely necessary process of grief, we end up processing it through them. So, what can we do to make our afterlives and our future lives better? If you're approaching an ending, as we spoke of last week, try your best to stay conscious and make it the best one you can. It isn't always pretty or tidy, but consider the 5 things people say, and do as many of them as you can, heartfully and sincerely. And if you've already had a good ending, great. Continue to honor what they gave to you and try to find new ways to relate to them. There are all kinds of ways to do this. Rituals, large and small, that I'll talk about in a minute. Pictures, candles, prayers, making favorite recipes, going to places that meant something to you both, making time to reflect in ways that would mean something to them and you, speaking to them, and also letting them speak to you. Suspending disbelief and listening, these are all wonderful ways to continue relationship in the quiet time after things have changed. But wait, what if it wasn't such a great ending? And you feel twisted about it and confused? Let's face it, most modern endings these days are pretty abysmal, actually. We don't really know how to do them, and things aren't really set up to support them. And that can leave us racked with guilt or sorrow or still hurt. And so if things didn't get said or done and we are full of regret or humiliation, which is the usual case, what then? And that's an important question. The truth is, we can also still heal in the afterlife of an ending, just as we can heal after someone or something has died. A friend said to me once, "A good ending has something of the truth in it." And I think he was right. Good cleanup starts with making time to find your own personal truth in the quiet after things are still. Taking walks, identifying what really wasn't resolved, making notes, even thinking of regrets and what you might have wished for. Some people would tell you not to do that, but I think it's important to really find what it was that's still missing. Write the phantom letters to the person until they start to free you up. I don't mean send them, just write them. You will probably know when you feel ready to make an offer of resolution or closure. Something in your mind and body will let you know that you're ready. So that's the next part. You have to ask, is it still possible to have good closure with somebody or something? Is it really too late? Meaning, are they accessible in real time? Are they contactable or alive? Could you take steps to a better closure? If the answer is yes, consider what a do-over ending might look like. Not a reset to the relationship, a better closure. It doesn't have to happen immediately. You might need to wait a few months or more before you're ready, but you can still ask for clarity, truth, say things you did not say, give thanks for what you have received, express love, and wish people well if you didn't. If you can do that, begin to make a plan for it. Your move to healing could take a lot of forms. A letter, a message, putting forward the possibility of connecting. Will they take you up on it? You can't know. That's their process. But even the act of preparing for the opportunity or an offering will have made a difference. If you do meet, in some cases you may need support for the resolution. Fine. There are people who support these kinds of conversations. You can find one. But let's just say it isn't time, or you cannot do this with someone in any kind of real time. Is healing still possible? And the answer is yes. Even on your own, getting very clear on what parts are missing and what you might have wished to do or say will start a process of healing on its own. And then there's taking a further step on your own, possibly in ritual. Small rituals can be truly helpful for people who are trying to heal on their own. So let's say that someone has died. You can set up a sacred space for them to hold their energy. You can place a picture, a keepsake. You can set up a special time to have the conversation. This ritual space, your words and your tears and your spoken truths will work to help both of you heal, actually. Make an offering of some small kind. Let yourself know that even without physical, real-time presence and words, relationships are forever, as Machado says. And we can have better ones. Even the next time around, when who knows, we may see each other again and start from the beginning. What we do with each other after our roles and our regular rhythms have stilled is important. A good next beginning will always start with a good ending. And of course, the opposite is also true. So friends, this is the end of the series on relationships. I hope that if you've listened to the end, there's something that you've gained. Create good ones by growing them up with care and giving them good exercise and putting them down with care too. They are just like we are. And of course, if you have new insights, definitely let us know. And if you want more, well, you know where to find us at the School of Unusual Life Learning, where we study how life moves and how people and their relationships change. We'd love to have you study with us. You can find out more at SoULLcommunity.com. That's SOULL community.com. All the best until then.